If you just got arrested for DWI in Texas, you're probably doing the math in your head, and it still doesn't feel real because it's not just a ticket, it's towing, bail, missing work, getting your car out of impound, figuring out how you're going to drive, and then that slow panic hits. What is this actually going to cost me by the time this is over? I'm Barrett, a Texas criminal defense attorney, and I've walked a lot of people through the real financial fallout of a DWI arrest, up front and down the road. In this video, I'm going to break down what a Texas DWI arrest really costs in plain numbers. What hits immediately, what shows up weeks later, and the expenses most people never see coming until they're already stuck paying them. So you can make smart decisions early instead of getting surprised at every step. Let's break down what a DWI arrest in Texas really costs. Not just in dollars, in time, in stress, in doors that quietly close later, jobs, housing, licensing, travel. Most people don't feel the real cost on the night of the arrest. They feel it in the weeks after, when the case starts moving, and life doesn't pause for it. So I'm going to walk you through the costs in 4 layers. What you pay immediately, what the court adds later, what nobody warns you about, and the long-term price tag that follows you for years. The first wave hits fast. Before you ever step into a courtroom, you're already spending money. You'll usually see it in a few predictable places. Booking and processing costs, depending on the county, bail, especially if you want to get out quickly, and if you use a bondsman, that fee is usually money you don't get back. Then there's your vehicle, towing, impound, storage fees that grow every day your car sits there. And then comes the biggest early decision most people face: legal representation. A good DWI defense takes work, reviewing video, challenging the stop, analyzing the tests, fighting license consequences, and negotiating from strength. The truth is, most people spend thousands just to stabilize the situation, not to win yet, just to stop the bleeding. Now, once that first wave is over, people assume the costs slowed down. They usually don't, because the court system has its own price list. Even if your case never goes to trial, the court process brings its own expenses. Fines, court costs, programs and classes, probation fees if you're placed on community supervision, and then there are the add-ons that feel small until they stack up. Required education courses, monthly supervision fees, testing requirements in some cases, and if an ignition interlock device is ordered, that becomes a monthly expense too. This is where people get blindsided, because they hear one number, like a fine, and assume that's the total, but it's not. The fine is one line item. The system has a lot more. And now we get into the category that hurts the most, because it doesn't show up as one clean bill. Now let's talk about what most people almost never calculate: the costs that don't show up as a single invoice but still drain you. First, license consequences. In Texas, your driver's license can be suspended after a DWI arrest. And if you need to drive for work, family, or basic life, you may end up paying additional costs just to keep driving legally. Filing fees, hearings, occupational license steps. And here's the part that stings. If you miss the deadline to request a hearing, you can lose driving privileges even while the criminal case is still pending. Next, insurance increases. After a DWI arrest or conviction, many people see insurance rates jump, sometimes dramatically, and it's not usually a 1-month problem. It can follow you for years. That's money leaving your pocket every month long after the court dates are over. Next, lost time and lost wages. A DWI case takes your time. Court settings, meetings with your lawyer, classes, community service, probation check-ins. If your job is flexible, it's still stressful. If your job isn't flexible, it can be dangerous. And if you drive for work, a DWI can put the job itself at risk. Next, professional consequences. For nurses, teachers, people in regulated careers, and anyone working toward a license, a DWI can create reporting issues and discipline risks. Even if you keep your job, you may have to explain it repeatedly. That's a cost too. And then there are travel restrictions. Some countries treat DWI convictions harshly at the border, so the costs can show up later when you try to travel and you find out the hard way your record changed your options. And that brings us to a cost nobody budgets for, but almost everyone feels: the emotional costs. This is the price that lasts the longest for a lot of people. The anxiety of an open case, the fear of losing your license, the embarrassment of public court records. The stress on your family when routines change. Kids notice when you can't drive. Spouses feel it when the load shifts. And people carry shame even when they're trying to fix it. Money is painful, but the emotional drag can be worse. And now we get to the costs that can outlive the case itself. Here's the truth a lot of people don't understand until later. In Texas, a DWI conviction can follow you for life. It can come up on job applications, housing checks, professional licensing, future background screens. And it's not just about embarrassment, it's about opportunity. And there's another long-term issue people ignore. If you get another DWI years later, Texas can treat it as a repeat offense. So what happens today can change the stakes of a future situation, even a decade from now. So the question becomes, what can you do right now to stop the costs from multiplying? If you're dealing with a DWI arrest in Texas, your best move is not guessing. Do 3 things. First, save every document: bond paperwork, citation, license suspension notice, anything you were handed. Bring it all to your attorney. Second, act fast on the license timeline. In Texas, there's a short window after arrest to request the hearing to fight the license suspension. If you miss it, you can lose driving privileges quickly, even if the criminal case is still being fought. Third, build a plan, not a panic plea. A DWI case is beatable or negotiable based on details: the reason for the stop, the procedures used, the video, the testing, the paperwork. Your goal is to make decisions based on what can be proven, not based on fear, because fear is expensive. Good planning is cheaper. Quick recap. A Texas DWI arrest costs you in layers. Immediate costs like bail, towing, impound, and legal fees. Court costs like fines, classes, probation fees, and interlock expenses. Hidden costs like license consequences, insurance hikes, lost wages, and career impact. And long-term costs like a record that can follow you for years and raise the stakes of any future charge. The real cost isn't just what you pay this week, it's what it changes about your options later on. Next, watch 5 things cops don't want you to know about DWI breathalyzers. Because if a breath test is part of your case, that machine is not the final word. In that video, I'll show you the pressure points that can flip a bad number into a beatable case. I'll see you in the next one.